Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. May I please have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting held April 24th and May 3rd?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carries. Any persons wishing to address? Nope. May I please have an approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carries. Good news.
Well, good evening. As you all know, the district's strategic plan places high priorities on student outcomes. Specifically, one of the things we're doing is building strong foundation for academic success across all subject areas by further supporting struggling readers and providing the supports necessary to help them grow. So, breaking news tonight, right here, right now, Hawthorne Elementary has just been notified of a gift of 500 books from the Dave Pilkey Scholastic Summer Reading Contest. This grant was a surprise, I think, for the Hawthorne teacher, even though she did submit something online. She was one of 6,000 teachers from across the U.S. who entered a contest, and they had to respond to the question, tell us what you're doing to help your students with their reading this summer. So one entrant from each state was chosen, and Jessie Moeller is that teacher. She's here and is going to tell us a little bit about what her plans are for those 500 books this summer.
Good evening. Thank you so much. So in submitting this entry, our students at Hawthorne, a lot of students are excited for summer, and they're really excited to get that break. And our students, it kind of creates a little bit of anxiety, a lot of unknowns and uncertainties. And we talk about how books are a great escape and a great way to have adventures. And we kind of promote that with literacy on a daily basis. But through this grant, we can put some books in their hands over the summer. So to start the summer off, each student will receive a brand new book. And the great thing about these books is the grant is worth about $7,000. So they're going to be great books for them, books that they would normally get in the library but not get to take home. And so each child will receive one of those. Hawthorne is also a site for our summer school program as well, which I have the opportunity and fortune to be one of the teachers of too. So this summer, we're also implementing at summer school an additional opportunity, and we have some volunteers that have already been working in our school that have asked to come back in the summer, and we're gonna break out after lunch and have reading groups to have children be able to sit down with adults and read, which is something many of them are missing out on, to promote more of a love of reading, not as a job, but to really promote that love and compassion and camaraderie that comes with reading and develop that. And then at the end of the summer, those students will also be receiving 2 additional books. And these are often our most struggling readers and our most disconnected students. So it's another opportunity to show caring adults, combine that with reading, and give it more of a positive connotation instead of a job and a chore. So that's what we're looking forward to doing with our new opportunity with these books.
Great. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I think it's a great, I'm just, what an amazing opportunity, and you're the only person selected from South Dakota, so congratulations. It's a really great honor. And to be able to put books in these kids' hands over the summer is just fantastic. So congratulations.
Okay, moving forward, conflicts of interest. We as a board have received 3 conflicts from Board Member Alberty. We've reviewed them. In consideration these conflicts of interest as presented, the board has determined that the matter underlying the contract is fair, reasonable, and not contrary to public interest. and that it is appropriate to grant a prospective general waiver for any substantially similar contracts of transactions between the time of the authorization and the next annual disclosure date. May I please have a motion to approve? Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion was made by Doug, seconded by Kate, with a 4-0 vote with one abstention from Kent Alberty. That waiver is approved. Thank you. May I please have an approval of the consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. That carries. Supplemental consent agenda, 11A, 1, 2, and 3 are all claims to Sanford Healthcare System. May I have a motion to approve those?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries with an abstention from Board Member Ryder. Now on to the reports of the superintendent.
Well, thank you. Our first report tonight is a breakfast in the classroom report. Comes to us from Curriculum Services and Ann Smith.
Good evening. The Breakfast in the Classroom pilot project began this last September 2016, at Terry Redlin Elementary School. The Breakfast in the Classroom initiative takes the traditional school breakfast approach and improves it with one key ingredient, the classroom setting. Through Breakfast in the Classroom, breakfast is available to everyone, and they eat it in the classroom together while the teacher does morning announcements, read-alouds, and activities that will help build the classroom community. Through this, we're sure that each student will start their day with a balanced breakfast, balanced according to the USDA guidelines. I'm going to show a quick video so you get a feel for how the breakfast in the classroom looks and feels.
At the end of the day, I usually come in here and I go ahead and get all the bags out, and I sort all the food to the bags, the different classrooms. And I'll put those away, and then the next day we'll come in and we'll load up the milk for each bags that we have. And then we'll distribute them. Like downstairs, we'll do all the K through second grade. And then upstairs, they have lines up there so the kids can automatically come through the lines and pick up their breakfast and take back to their classrooms. And if kids come late, usually there's like 5 to 10 minutes that they can get to their classroom and still eat breakfast, even though they come in a little bit later. And we do provide like all the way up to 8:30. They choose to have breakfast, we give it to them. Last year, it was like they would come in late. They would say, well, I'm hungry, I didn't have breakfast. And so they would be sent downstairs for a cracker and juice. And is that going to hold them over? Not like a regular breakfast that we're serving now. So
they come in and grab their breakfast, kind of the routine, and they check off, their lunch choice. We sit down and they eat their breakfast. A good portion of my class does eat the breakfast. I think maybe 2 that have it at home. But for the most part, they utilize the breakfast here, and I think, which is really good. So I think it's important to start the day off with a filled belly, and so their brain's ready to be fueled for the day and to be ready to learn. Like around your breakfast table in the morning, starting the day, I have a morning question that I have them share at their tables, and so it's kind of builds the classroom rapport a little bit and the relationships together. It's just a morning conversation, and they know to get their breakfast, get started, and then I'll put up the question. And so, yeah, it's kind of just an easy start to the day, not just kind of jump into the learning, but a calm, welcoming experience, I think, has been nice.
During that time, I choose to read out loud to the class, and so they're all busy eating, and I'm reading to them. And it works perfect to have them be busy while I'm reading, and they get to hear what I'm reading. In the past, they had to come to school 20 minutes early to get that breakfast piece, and some students weren't able to do that or chose not to, but now everybody has that opportunity, and I feel like more kids are taking advantage of it. So in the past, sometimes the behavior we'd look at, why are you behaving this way? And one of the things we'd always say is maybe they're hungry. Well, now we know that they're not, so it's easier to narrow down some of the reasons that they're maybe acting out, or I don't see as much acting out in the morning because I know they're not hungry, they're already fed.
I mean, we don't know if they get breakfast prior to coming to school, so I think not every family maybe is able to do that. So I think it's just very nice that we can provide it for them, and as the teacher, I know that they're ready to learn and get started with the day.
If you look at the national research that has been done over the years, the Breakfast in the Classroom project began to get more kids eating breakfast. They were responding to the low number of students that participated in the breakfast program when kids had to come early and to go to the cafeteria. The research that has been done nationally shows that the greatest success of the Breakfast in the Classroom program is that you do know that every child has had breakfast. There were some researchers that hypothesized that improved nutrition would result in improved academic achievement, but I could only find one study that reported a connection between breakfast in the classroom and improved achievement in math and reading. There was also an evaluation of the New York City Breakfast in the Classroom program that was published in 2016, which refuted the other study that said that there was a connection between achievement. So the results are mixed when you look at, does breakfast in the classroom improve academic achievement? However, other studies have found that breakfast in the classroom is linked with greater overall school attendance. So with our program, what we looked at was, are we feeding more children breakfast at Terry Redlin? And indeed, we did. The average daily participation of students eating breakfast increased by 197 children. The secondary goal of our pilot was to decrease tardies and increase attendance. When we looked at the data from semester 1, we saw that tardies did decline by 227 and that absences also declined. Now, there were other initiatives and are other initiatives going on at Terry Redlin in addition to breakfast in the classroom to improve attendance and decrease tardies. So we can't 100% say it was breakfast in the classroom that did it, but we can say that tardies and absences were down in semester 1. We also surveyed the staff to see how they felt about breakfast in the classroom. Over 68% of staff agree that students are more focused and ready to learn at the beginning of the day. 60% of staff agree that students are more focused throughout the entire day, and 65% of staff agree that the classroom climate is more positive this year. 60% agree that there is a calmer tone throughout the building. As a result of what we've seen at Terry Redlin Elementary, we will be expanding the Breakfast in the Classroom program to Hawthorne Elementary and Lowell Elementary for the 2017-18 school year. With that, I would ask that the board would acknowledge the report on breakfast in the classroom, and I stand by for questions.
Well, I mean, it's a great program. Sometimes we just, paralyze ourselves by trying to link it to a test or a test score, and bottom line, it's just the right thing to do for those kids. They come in, they can get their breakfast, they can get calmed down, whether it translates into a test score. Like you said, there's a lot of initiatives going on in these schools, and it takes a lot of initiatives to change the paradigm. So, it's just feels right, the right thing to do, and to roll it out to 2 more schools and have that ability speaks volumes to what the school district stands for, right? And it's making sure that we do so many more things than just educate these kids. So, it's just a great thing that we can rally around these kids that may not have the nutrition that other kids have, the benefits of that, and that we can get them ready in the classroom. And then ultimately, it's a thank you to all the people that make it happen. I'm sure when, Joni gets somebody calls or says, hey, can you come to a meeting and look at this? It's, it's a lot of disruption to, what business as usual might have been. But, as usual, rallies the team and steps up, and then all the teachers and administrators in the building. And then ultimately, it starts with a partner. So I see Whitney out here from the Midwest Dairy Council, who's kind of spurred this and was kind of her idea to get everyone together, and had some grant money. You saw the bags that the breakfasts were coming out in, and so willing to step up as a partner. So it's all those things, community partner, the passion of our district, the operational aspect that, Joni behind the scenes works her magic to make happen. And at the end of the day, you just have, I think, a really, this is almost a good news report to me. And so I love hearing reports like this. And so I can't say thank you enough to everybody who's made this happen, and to know that it's going to go roll out to 2 more schools is very exciting to me. So thank you to everybody for making that happen.
Any other comments?
Well, what Doug said.
What Doug said, and even sweeter.
One other thing, and I had read the report, but until I watched the video, the behavior, one of our concerns has been the increase of behavior at a younger age. And when I hear a teacher say that her classroom is more calm and less behavior issues because kids have something to eat in the morning, maybe that's a simple thing that we might have overlooked in how we assess and evaluate the behavior issues that we all have concerns about. So, I mean, and you can't monitor that, but that certainly is a benefit to, as Doug said, doing the right thing, so.
And there's effort by the teachers. I mean, that's got to be a big effort, and they see the benefit.
Yep.
And must know that it's a good thing, so.
Very good, thank you.
Well, we have I need a motion to acknowledge the report on breakfast in the classroom.
So move.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carries.
Okay, our second report tonight is a report on the Sanford Harmony Report. A report comes from Special Services and from Val Peters.
Good evening. I have the opportunity this evening to inform you of the Sanford Harmony Program and the implementation of that program within our Sioux Falls School District. The Sanford Harmony Program is designed to support the development of inclusive classroom communities, relationships and communication development, conflict resolution skills for children, and it's developed for pre-K through 6th grade children. The funding for the development of this program was provided by our local businessman and philanthropist, T. Denny Sanford, and he partnered with the educators at the Denny Sanford School and Family of Social and Family Dynamics in Arizona State University. Through their partnership, they've developed a program that is a framework of lessons and units that focus on diversity and inclusion in the classroom, so creating a community within that classroom and an understanding of the diversity in that classroom, empathy and critical thinking, so understanding how your friends are feeling and being able to participate in critical thinking activities, communication, so solving our problems, conflict resolution, and being able to communicate our feelings verbally and with language skills rather than physically, problem solving, and then the development of peer relationships. There are a variety of components that are in the program, and those include a meetup, a buddy up, they have conversation starters, as well as stories and songs that classrooms utilize. There's a framework for the lessons, and teachers can follow that framework, or you can utilize different components as it fits within your daily routine. So in the spring of 2014 and 2015, the Sioux Falls School District Early Childhood Program was looking for a program to support the social emotional development of our young children. There are components within our current curriculum, but we felt like with the needs of some of our students that our teachers needed a little bit more support with that direct instruction of those skills. So as we looked at a variety of programs, we were introduced to the Sanford Harmony program through Harmony trainers and a USD research team. And at that time, we partnered with that USD research team and Sanford Harmony, and they provided all of the staff development, the training for the program, as well as stipends for teachers and some additional supports for materials. And they collected then research and data. So the first year of our implementation was in 2015-16, and then, and then we continued it for this year. So the data that I'm going to show you next is from the 2015-16 year that the USD research team compiled. This questions that you'll see on your screen are the actual questions that the research team developed that they wanted to answer. And there were three major questions. The first one had to do with what were the gains that we saw in children. It's important to remember that the research that they did, there was no control group. So this is data that teachers provided through a questionnaire on students who started with us and ended with us. So they were with us that whole time of implementation. And there was an average gain of about 17 points, which the research team considered to be significant. And there was no difference in the gain between genders or races. So all kids made gains. Of the different subtypes or sub-areas of the assessment that they used, which of those sections made the most gain? And you'll see assertion, self-control, and engagement were the three top areas where children made the most gains. When we broke those groups out and they looked at the typically developing children, children without disabilities, and then they looked at the red line there as children who have an IEP, and then the green line is children who have an IEP and are served through special education, and within that IEP have goals specifically for social, emotional, or behavior. And you will see that if you took and calculated the number of points of gain, it's really the same for all three of those areas. So our children on IEP started a little lower, but they made parallel growth. So all of the children made gains. And actually, if you really did the subtraction there, the green line of the children who have goals for social and emotional had a few points higher than the non-disabled peers in their growth. So while they may not have ended at the same point, the growth was parallel for all of those groups. So that's good to know. We also had one elementary school that implemented the Sanford Harmony program K through 5th grade during this current school year. So Harvey Dunn Elementary was introduced to the Harmony program the spring of last year, and they had training at the beginning of this school year, and they implemented that school-wide using those same components as they fit into their daily routine. They also paired their social skill lessons by their school counselor to align with the Harmony units and lessons. And both groups found that it was at times challenging to incorporate the program into their daily routine. But with Harmony, we also have some flexibility to make some adaptations and modifications that may fit our daily routines and our individual groups a little better. And with the support and partnership continuing with the USD research team and the Harmony trainer, who is one of the professors at USD, as well as with the Sanford Harmony, we're going to pull back together and do some additional training with staff and some additional modifications at the early childhood level so that we can have better implementation more consistently, and we'll continue to use the program looking at those adaptations that we make next year. The elementary program found the same things to be challenges that we in early childhood did, but they saw enough success with the program that they'll be implementing that program again next year, school-wide. And again, they'll be doing some modifications and adaptations, and then creating some lessons with their school counselor and some videos to kind of show kids what it looks like to use in partnership with the Sanford Harmony program. So I would ask that you acknowledge the informational report on Sanford Harmony, and I would welcome any questions.
Any questions?
No, I mean, it seems encouraging and like a good curriculum. Is there any way to give feedback to the group? Is there a way to design something to give these pre-K lessons to our 285 parents of the kids that are on the Head Start waiting list who aren't getting the benefit of this, and you won't know. I'm just thinking like, okay, I either have two choices. I get the 285 kids on the waiting list into pre-K, which, you know, is a struggle, but we're working on, or is there some way in all this money that's being committed to this that somehow, even though they're not in our program, I can get them something at home where they can, the parents that are interested can learn those lessons, and I don't know if that has ever come up.
That particular example hasn't ever come up. It wouldn't, I mean, it would be something, you know, we could ask the research team in Sanford Harmony. There's a very small parent component. I wouldn't say that it's a research-based parent component, but if you'll think back to those Head Start performance standards that I was here last month and talked about, one of those Head Start performance standards is that we implement a research-based parent curriculum to support development at home and parents becoming the child's first and foremost teacher. So we've looked at how we can align what we do with the Harmony program with a parent education kind of a program, and we'll have to have another tie-in with it that's research-based, but that would support the children that are currently in our program through Head Start, Title, Special Education, and Migrant, but we haven't looked at what we would do for those children that are not in our program.
Yeah, it might just help to reiterate to them that we have a large portion of kids that aren't getting the benefit of any of this because there's no spots for them because of funding. So it's good for the kids that are in it. For the ones that aren't in it, then they probably get farther behind. But I don't know if they, like I said, if they've ever looked at a tool that they can give to parents to teach this type of stuff. So just food for thought. So.
Is this program utilized in is it a 6-week program for those students who didn't get to participate in the preschool?
Ready to Start? We do. When we
Okay.
do our training for Ready to Start, we we do some training with the teachers on this, and they incorporate it as they can
Sure.
within that
Obviously,
short
it's harder,
period.
yeah.
They're there for such a short period of time, and we have the other components that are really what we do the pre and post test on. But the supporting behavior skills, when you think about that section that we do pre and post test on, this falls right in there, so they do utilize some of it.
Any other questions?
I guess one more thought. You do have a pretty good control group. You do a pre and a post test. Have you ever looked at the kids that have been through this versus the kids, the 285-ish kids, right? And how they go through, because you kind of have a control group of kids that went through and didn't go through. Although there's a lot of other factors that go into it.
We do. I don't do that.
Yeah,
That when they get into kindergarten, which is when we would have access to them.
yeah.
I don't do any assessment on those little ones who haven't been with us in
Yeah.
any kind of a program.
Thanks, Val.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, may I have a motion to acknowledge the information on the implementation of the Harmony program?
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Carries.
Our third report tonight is actually part of a public hearing on a request for waivers from the South Dakota Department of Education regarding Spanish 2. This report comes to us from Curriculum Services in general and specifically from our high school curriculum coordinator, Kristin Grinager.
Good evening. Last year, a waiver was approved for students to earn credit by exam for Spanish 1. We now have a district Spanish 2 test and are asking to pursue a waiver from the South Dakota Department of Education for Spanish 2 credit by exam. We believe this would provide a limited number of students who possess the skills and knowledge of concepts to earn credit by exams for Spanish 2. We also believe this would be a benefit to our Spanish immersion students and our native Spanish speakers. Students would need to score 85% or higher in order to receive credit. If the state approves the waiver, it would be in effect through July 1st, 2022, or 2022. I would ask the board to acknowledge this report and approve the submission of the waiver.
This is a public hearing, so I believe at this time would be the time, if anybody wishes to speak on this, please come forward.
So this is an exciting time. Thank you for that. I was wondering if we could also think about, so our 8th grade immersion children, and there's a couple families here, we are also wondering what happens if those kids are quite high, and so they could actually do Spanish 4, or they might even be done with Spanish 1 in college. And so I don't want to shorten those kids either, and since we don't really know yet, I don't know how to say this, maybe Mark, maybe you have some other ideas, but, so I'd like us to also think forward quite a bit more even, if it's possible. I don't know how this all works. But, so there are some children, students who may not continue, and it would be a shame if or they move away, let's say. It would be a shame if they didn't have anything on their transcript, but they were indeed even college level 2 and they had nothing. So I don't know, is that possible to think about? Higher than Spanish 2? Waiver?
Shannon, you look like you're looking at me. So
I don't know who to look at.
I'm not sure, but I know this. I think we would be willing, I'm looking at you, Kristin, to see what else we could do in terms of a waiver. That's not the agenda item tonight, but I think it's a reasonable request for us to look at to see, are there other testing out of criteria that we can look at as a school district. I think that's a reasonable request.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on the public hearing?
Just to clarify, I'm Dan Graber, Shannon's husband. We support the test out as it is. So that's just a vote of support for it. The comment would be, maybe we could look at the next level beyond, but that's beyond this issue.
Hearing. Any further comments?
I just have a question, I guess, because I don't know how this works specifically. So if they take, we already have a waiver for Spanish 1, correct? So this is a request for 2. So then the students, as potentially 8th graders, would have to take the Spanish 1 exam, pass an 85 or better, and then follow that up with taking the Spanish 2 exam and get an 85 or better on that to get credit for both. There's not like if you do well enough on a Spanish 2, that you clearly would have done well enough on a Spanish 1.
It's a progression, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to
Yes.
make sure that. So for a Spanish immersion, would we ever say, I guess, is there a grade level? Like, at what point, do they have to finish middle school? Is there I don't know how that works, for when they would even take. And maybe if I'm off topic, please correct me, because I don't want to get it lost in the weeds, but I'm just curious, could a 7th grader take the Spanish 1 and an 8th grader take the Spanish 2?
So last year, our waiver said that students could earn credit before grade 9 for completion of Spanish 2.
Okay,
So that could occur before
okay.
grade 9.
I'm just thinking from a testing perspective, we do smarter balance, and then if we're going to ask 8th graders to take Spanish 1 and then Spanish 2, and then some form of other assessment as they leave that grade level, that seems like a lot to cram into a month's worth. So if we could somehow stagger that, looking at what's appropriate for each level, that might make for better outcomes and higher satisfaction for students too.
Okay, that makes sense.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I'd like a motion to acknowledge the public hearing for credit by exam for Spanish 2 and direct administration to pursue the waiver from the South Dakota Department of Education.
So move.
Second?
Is there any further discussion?
Can I just ask one more question? Sorry. So this would go into effect on July 1st, if approved. So for the current 8th grade students, they would not have the option then? When do they become a 9th grade student? You know what I mean?
Kristin, I'll ask you to come back up, but
Sorry.
I think you answered the question.
So students, this would go into effect July 1.
Okay,
So there would be the potential to take the exam before school started in the fall.
okay. So it would just be a matter of setting a date or something and inviting students to come in and take it prior to. Okay.
Right.
we consider students to be a ninth grader, like, the day after they finish eighth grade? Is there a line in the sand? I don't,
I think they become ninth graders when they begin ninth grade.
so in the fall?
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
I think you were just very generous there, because not only, it's not a matter of them just taking the test, it's a matter of the
Setting it up.
setting it up, all the logistics that go with it as well.
Right.
Yep,
So we
totally
need to work
understand.
with our assessment department.
Sure, okay.
But we are asking to use our district Spanish 2 semester exam, so that's helpful.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Great, we have a motion and a second to acknowledge this public hearing. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That carries. Now we'll go to Kate.
Policies. We are looking at a second reading of policy AH, disclosure and authorization of contractual conflicts. We looked at this, doesn't have a date on here, a month ago? And it was out for first reading. No comments were received. And it was changed due to legislative changes that are effective 7/1 of 17. So I would move to approve the second reading of policy AH.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Delayed, Kent.
4 to 1.
Sorry.
Okay,
Oh, never mind. The first reading of policies EFD, pricing and payment of food services, policy and regulation JH and JHR, student attendance, and policy JJH and its accompanying regulations, student travel. The EFD, pricing and payment of food services, this policy was slightly amended to state that the district will have a new meal charge regulation as required by the 2010 Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act, which I believe goes into effect 7/1/17. And then JH, its accompanying regulation, student attendance. We updated language for reporting and notifying parents and guardians about their students' attendance, as well as interventions for improving attendance. And then JJH and its accompanying regulation, student travel. We updated student travel language and clarified costs and fundraising opportunities. These policies and regulations will require a second reading. They'll be posted for public review on the school district website and will come back to us on June 12th. So I move to acknowledge the first reading of said policies.
Second.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion on the policies? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So these will come back for a second reading. May I please have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Meeting is adjourned.